this is why so many of the stars love being on this show and have such an attachment to it years and years and years later. It's because they get this kind of personal transformative experience of expressing themselves through dance, which is typically a new avenue for these people that they didn't even realize they could do.
I was really nervous because the Andy stands scare me.
Welcome back.
It was dedication night. We laughed, we cried,
Yeah.
we rolled eyes.
Yeah. One thing we are not crying about, which I feel like we usually do, is the elimination.
No one went home tonight.
Which I wasn't surprised about.
We kind of predicted it earlier in the night. Some people have been talking about it on social media, that they may not send anybody home, and they didn't.
I get that it's hard to send people home on dedication night because, like, after such, like, you poured your heart out there and you, like, you're in front of your close friend, family that you've invited or whatever. Like, to get eliminated in front of them after what is usually your best dance is pretty brutal. That being said, sometimes it can be bittersweet, but it just means, like, probably there's going to be, like, a double elimination coming up or something.
I feel like it's kind of a cop-out. Like, you're gonna get eliminated either way. Like, why are we just delaying it and sending 2 people home in the same night?
Once again, and I think I say this every single week, Andy survives another day.
Due to no elimination at all. There's gonna be a double elimination before the finals at some point in order for the math to math.
And I hate that because we literally just had a double elimination.
There's a reason that they pick a number of couples for the number of weeks that they're doing, so that it ends up there being a couple going home every week. I feel like the only reason we should have a double elimination is if we quite literally need it in order to end up with a final 4. I'll sympathize. I have sympathy, and I understand. I would not want to go home on this night.
No,
but I
that
also
was
think
brutal.
there's some people in this cast that it would have been a nice send-off.
It would have been like this again, and I said this when I think Andy was, like, Andy thought he was gonna go home, which was, oh, that was TikTok night. I was like, this is a beautiful send-off dance. Didn't go home. I was really hoping he wouldn't go home for Ratatouille night, because again, Emma's dressed up as Remy the Rat, and I was like, okay, dedication night, I think they're gonna set us up for an Andy elimination. I don't think he would have had a problem with going home. I think he's surprised he's made it this far. And I think it would have been, again, a great send-off for him because I think his knees are struggling a little bit. Of course, I think he wants to say, but also he has more physical limitations than other people. Like, everyone's like, oh, he's old, it's what, like, blah, blah. He's not that far off in age from Elaine, who's doing absolutely beautifully. It's not, like, just an age thing. It's just, like, he has bad knees and he can't move as well.
Exactly. I think that's a great point because a lot of people are pushing him into this idea of, like, the older man, which, like, he is, I think right now, the oldest contestant, but he's not significantly older. He really is he's very, very close in age to Elaine. The key difference is, like, their physical abilities. That he has a lot more physical limitations, a lot more pain in his body, while Elaine has a lot more strength and agility and such. So truly, it's not the poor old man. Either way, he survives.
He survives.
I was really nervous because the Andy stands scare me. Y'all have too much power. I don't know who gave you access to voting. Sorry, that was mean. I apologize. I was getting flamed in our comments today.
No, because, yeah, this is the first week because usually you're like, you vote for everyone. I feel like that's your big thing is you vote for everyone. You didn't vote for Andy.
I'm sorry, but y'all drove me to a point, like, because I do, like, I'm big on vote for everybody, and I just vote in different quantities of votes. But I decided that the Andy voters are too strong, and they're strong enough that, you know what, they got my votes for me. I already got shamed in our comment section, so, and to be honest, I'm actually not sorry.
So Andy did, speaking of Andy, he did kick off the night.
He did.
I felt like for me watching him was not quite about the technique. It was a dance with his daughter, and I think that's what he was focused on. It was so joyous, it was so lovely. Not that he doesn't care about the technique, because again, I've said that he like really works on the technique every week and he tries to grow, and you still see that. That being said, this dance felt like I just want to dance with my daughter and have a good time and focus on dancing with her.
He has such a sweet connection with her, and it was really beautiful to watch them dance together, and she was having the best time.
And like, that to me is priceless. Like, if he could choose, okay, I'm gonna go scores and technique or have a great dance where I'm connecting with my daughter and just dancing with her, I think he's gonna choose the latter, and I think that's what he did. And I think that was the right choice. So that's why I'm like, I think he would have been fine going home and taking lower scores this week if it means he has that like priceless moment, you know?
Absolutely. He did a salsa tonight, which I think is one of the styles that we were a little scared for him. We even mentioned last week, worried about the day he gets a salsa.
Because he's gone through all the slower dances.
I was impressed though. He did better than I expected him to do with the salsa, I will say that. And I am still seeing improvement from him. Mm-hmm. He's still getting 6s. He's been getting the same score pretty much every week, which I think is fair. Even though he has been improving, I still don't see him improving to the extent of being able to bump that up to a 7.
Other couples like are still getting 7s. Like we're finally seeing some 9s, seeing a lot of 8s, and still a couple 7s. And I don't think Andy's quite at the level that the 7 people are.
While Andy is improving a little bit, the gap between him and like the next lowest person each week is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think that he needs to be the next to go home, because everybody else is just improving to like a much greater
and rapidly.
After Andy was Robert, which they really had to put him early in the show. And I'm sorry I didn't listen to Ezra's Instagram post when he said bring a box of tissues, and I wish I had. He did a contemporary dedicated to his mom. In the package he talked about him losing his dad, and he immediately like, oh my god. I was absolutely sobbing. I thought it was beautiful. Obviously love Whitney's choreography. I was still expecting a little bit more, just because we've seen some like really, really stellar contemporaries from Whitney. Mm-hmm. And so I was kind of expecting to see that level, and I feel like this didn't quite reach that same level that we've seen from her choreo in the past. But maybe she realized that would have been pushing Robert a little too much. I don't know.
One thing I really loved about this was like I feel like his movements are really great. Like I think he had some great movement quality. Like there's like resistance to his movements, which I think is good for contemporary. So I was really excited to see that. Like again, I understand what you're saying with wanting to see more, especially in terms of choreography. But I think after a rough couple of weeks for Robert, I was really happy to see a little bit of a breakthrough, and see him kind of come into a performance. Like again, the happy like performance comes really naturally to him, and I was really happy to see him perform, like really perform in a different way that still felt authentic to him. And I thought that was really beautiful. I thought it was really like his mom was on the floor, and then Bindi came out, and then we had him, so we had all 3 Irwins, and then like we know like they are holding so much love for like their dad, and I'm like, I just feel like this is a family affair now, and I just thought that was really beautiful.
I also just thought of this, that I feel like Robert performs better when he has like a strong emotion towards his dance within him. And then I also think back to like his first dance and how amazing his first dance was, because he had so much excitement in him. I think his second and his third and his fourth plateaued a little bit because he just kind of got into the routine and he didn't have as much emotions connected to it.
Which is nice, because I feel like Robert feels quite deeply.
He got 1 8 and 3 9s. which was the highest score of the night for a little bit. By the end of the night, I think it was still the second, tied for the second highest.
I was really happy to see him bumped up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, also, we forgot to mention that we had a guest judge tonight.
Right, Kim was in the ballroom.
She's a former Dancing with the Stars pro. Oh my gosh, haven't seen her in so long. Yeah, but she was a really great judge. She obviously like really knows what she's talking about, and I thought she gave really good and specific notes and criticism, which I appreciated with so much kindness.
We're getting to a point where they need the notes. Like, I don't just want to watch them do a fun dance and like get a bunch of compliments all the time. They need notes to get better so that we have better performances to enjoy and they experience more growth, and I think they get more fulfillment out of that. I think that kind of almost rubbed off on the other judges too, because like they started giving more notes and I felt like it was a very constructive, helpful night for being dedication night to give notes too.
Which, because we're also getting to the point where everybody's gotten to a level where the judges have kind of moved past, for some people, have moved past like the more general notes to being able to say, okay, now you only need to work on these very specific things.
Yeah. And then once we unlock those specific things, maybe we can see some, maybe not yet. I feel like it's quite early still.
I will say, I felt like a couple times we were possibly close to a 10, but I think the kind of trio aspect,
I made it really difficult.
I felt like it was really hard to judge when there was this third person involved in the dance that wasn't like there to be judged.
Competing.
So it's like, okay, when like the pro steps out and like the celeb's dancing with their family member or whatever, like you can't really judge the technique and stuff there. So I feel like it's hard to hand out a 10 when there's that added.
And that was my biggest issue with the next dance. Even though I loved it, it's hard because you still have these amateur celebrities who are doing this and there's so much relying on their pro. I think they're taking more of the lead or whatever. It's like, but when you've got someone who isn't doing this every week and who isn't training, and you have a third person that this celeb is not used to, and you're learning a new style, it's like, it's hard.
And it's very different from like the trio weeks that we've had in past seasons, because when they've done that, it's either been adding a second pro in or adding a former star contestant, and usually one that like did well enough to make it to the finals. For many of these dances was adding somebody with zero experience, throwing another week one celebrity or child into a dance.
Yeah.
Elaine Hendricks did a foxtrot, dedicated to Lisa and Walter. I did love the fact that, because this was the first one,
Really had
the guest was like in the whole dance.
I was quite impressed with Lisa coming in with like, she hasn't been on the show before, doing like this whole entire dance and it's in frame. Like, I was quite impressed with Lisa, first of all. I will say, like, Elaine, again, she's such a great dancer. She improves so much every week, but because Lisa was in so much of this dance, which from a dedication night standpoint, I adored. From an Elaine standpoint, I thought it was kind of difficult because the choreography had to be simplified in some aspects, and also you're dealing with the trio, and I think Elaine had to focus on Lisa. She had to, like, there was a lot going on. If Elaine just had the style to deal with, she could have not done a better job, but it would have been a little bit more difficult and she would have shined doing so.
So I do think that Elaine ended up with a lower score than she probably would have gotten if Lisa was in the dance less. And that's not Lisa's fault.
Hard.
This makes me wonder if they're like not gonna do this next year, because I did love this aspect because it's kind of like I talked about this with Andy, it's like a priceless moment that I'm not sure that they would quite want to trade. Like, this is such a special night to, like, when are you ever going to get to do this with someone you like love? But scoring wise, competition wise, it's a little difficult.
Elaine got 2 8s and 2 7s, which is on the lower side of the scoreboard tonight.
Next one, oh my gosh,
Whitney
And Mark.
contemporary, dedicated to her husband. Similarly but differently than Elaine, I loved how they incorporated her husband Connor into a very large majority of the dance.
He was in a lot of it. I was quite impressed with him because, again, like...
I loved how he dipped out and then came back in. I think the execution of incorporating him in the majority of the dance was a lot better than the case with Elaine's. And I think contemporary does give itself better to 3 people than
like something
Foxtrot.
Like really love how he was added because he just wasn't just like there. Like they performed a dance that just could not be done if it was a contemporary between just Mark and Whitney. And again, I love Mark's choreography. He always has a story, he always has a concept, and going into a contemporary with someone as creative as Mark is really fun. And literally, like, when I take notes on the couples, I write their names. And for everyone still, I just wrote their names. But for this one specifically, I wrote Whitney and Connor because I felt like it was both their dances. The only, like, she had some mistakes. The mistakes did not come from him being incorporated. They were just on her, which I appreciated. That, like, some of the trios, again, I feel like beautiful, priceless, but mistakes were done that wouldn't have been there had it been with the pro or whatever.
The biggest note that she got from like every judge was that they were out of sync.
And that was just Whitney and Mark, so I'm glad that it wasn't like, you did poorly because of me.
Dance was so gorgeous. I mean, I think if it weren't for those moments where they got out of sync, it could have been our first 10.
It could have. I really thought it was going to be because I know like pretty much all the judges were like, loved it, so stunning, a little timing issue. And so I was like, okay, if we see a bunch of 9s, that means it would have been a 10. That being said, we got a 9 and 3/8. So it was like, we could have gotten 110 from Carrie Ann, but
I don't know. I think she was underscored. And not by Carrie Ann, which is interesting. Because we know that Carrie Ann is kind of known for underscoring women. She's still way up there as far as the scores for tonight. Like, I'm not worried about her.
No.
Because of this score. But, yeah, I think it should have been a little higher.
It just means so much more than, like, let's get a third dancer out there. Like, I was impressed. Like, he stepped it off. He did some impressive, like, lifts and dancing. I was like, this means so much, and it's stunning. Which was, I think, what I hoped from all the couples tonight, which...
She was then followed by her fellow Mormon wife, Jen, who did a Viennese waltz dedicated to her mom.
I will say this is my favorite dance from her because I feel like she's letting out some emotion. She's performing, which is something I desperately wanted from her.
I thought it was beautiful. The first thing I wrote was extensions, and I think that was a critique in that, like, she could have better extensions through her limbs and stuff. And she popped her foot off the floor. I think it was an accident. There was a moment in there that both of her feet were off the floor, which is not allowed in the Viennese waltz.
Carrie Ann, apparently, she must have not seen, because I know if she saw it, she would have said something, because Carrie Ann gave this one the highest score.
It was very highlighted on the camera.
I wonder if Carrie Ann will, like, rewatch this and be like, wait a minute.
It was definitely an accident. I think Jan just kind of pulled her a little too hard and she went whoop.
But I will say, like, I didn't notice how much of a height difference I feel like they have. I think he's quite tall compared to Jen, and during that whole, like, dance, she felt like, because one of their notes to her was, you need to be grounded, and she's, like, trying to do this dance up with him, and I feel like that is making this quite challenging.
Overall, I thought this was a big improvement, and it was definitely my favorite from her. Her scores didn't really reflect that. She had an 8 and 3 7s. To top the leaderboard tonight,
Which I was not expecting.
Dylan did a contemporary dedicated to his little sister, which is also like the sweetest story ever. He talked about how he never thought that he would be a big brother. He's in his 30s and his dad got remarried and had 2 more kids, and now she's like his best friend, and they danced to
cute.
Rewrite the Stars, which of course is a song performed by his brother. And it was my notes just say best yet and beautiful lines. I was just like, I couldn't even write notes because I was just like locked in.
One thing I will say, I'm like, he can move quite well, and one thing I've been missing from him, I think week after week, is the performance quality. And then like, I think it was Daniela was like, oh, he's shy, but like with her, he like, his sister, he like lights up more. And I'm like, maybe that's why he's not performing so much. He is quite, I feel like, reserved. And as a shy girly myself, I'm like, I hardcore relate. But I just would love to see him finally perform in his space like entirely fully. Like, he was a lot more cheesy tonight. You could tell he had so much love for Olivia, and it was so cute. But I'm like, that is the one thing I feel like I'm really missing from him, is for him to really break out of his shell, so I can really connect with his performance.
He got 4 9s, which put him at the top of the leaderboard tonight. I know a couple people in our comments were saying that they didn't feel like he should be at the top, which I think could be argued, but I also see where people are coming from. I really hope that he continues with this energy.
Yeah, I hope this is like a boost of confidence for him, because I think he, again, I said this week 1, he has so much freaking potential. He's a great mover. So I hope he takes this into next week. I think he could really do something with that.
One that I also think was a little underscored was Jordan. Jordan did a Viennese waltz dedicated to her dad. I think the one thing about this one versus all the other dances tonight is it was very classic, which was really nice to see from Ezra, because I feel like we haven't seen a whole lot of like truly like classic choreography from him. It was so daddy-daughter dance. It was beautiful. It was... But yeah, it didn't have a whole lot of like interesting content in it, but I think that's okay.
I'm just gonna say, first and foremost, my favorite one of the night. Like, I got really emotional during all of them, but this is the only one that like I literally felt like chills. Like, I just thought it was gorgeous and so sweet. However, I will say it was kind of difficult because so much of the dance was Jordan dancing with her dad, and so it was really beautiful to see kind of the transition of Ezra and Jordan's the newbie, to kind of like her leading her dad, which again the judges pointed out, and I thought that was so cool to see, because it just reflects so much growth, like as a dancer personally, like being the one to lead him on the floor in this kind of new thing. She was like, oh, it was gorgeous, and like so gorgeous, priceless again. But then I think it was kind of difficult because it's like, I feel like we could have seen more from her and less mistakes if she was doing that with Ezra. That being said, that's not what the dance is about, and that would have told a different story, and it's like the story is a big part of it too. And so I have mixed opinions on it, but I think Jordan's dance that we saw with her dad was irreplaceable, priceless, and like that is so worth it to me as an audience member that I can't even imagine what it's like to them.
Yeah, the story was so great. I really love the choice of the Viennese waltz for this too. It's such like a great style for a dad and daughter. She got 4 8s.
I wish she got a 9.
I felt like she deserved some 9s in there, but next was Scott, and he did a foxtrot dedicated to his husband. This was also such a sweet story, and they revealed that they're having a baby, that their surrogate is pregnant, and I'm so happy for them. And everybody in the ballroom was so excited for them. It was such a sweet announcement for them to, like, I feel so honored that they chose to like make that announcement through Dancing with the Stars. The only thing I wrote down at the end was, I didn't pay much attention. I just enjoyed. I was watching, and like halfway through I realized that like I wasn't paying attention to the technique, or if they messed up, or how good of a dance it was. I realized that I was just like sitting back and enjoying it. And I thought it was a big improvement for him.
I think so too. I think this was one of my favorite dances from him. I think he grew a lot. Like, I still don't think he's as technical as some of the other people, but I think this was his best dance. I really enjoyed it. I like seeing him in frame. I think it works nice with his body type. I don't know. I love the ending post because he talked about like how the moment behind the song when they fell in love, it was them talking on the floor together, like side by side, and I'm just like, I love how it ended like that. And I just, there's something so,
because it was his own song that he wrote about his.
This night is so special for the celebs. I think this is one of many reasons why this show is so transformative for the celebs who go on here. It's like, it's not just a dance ballroom competition show. Like, it is truly transformative for them, and I just, like, it's because of moments like this, and it's so special.
I also want to point out the fact that I know there's people in the world that are gonna come at Dancing with the Stars and ABC for pushing the goddamn gay agenda or whatever the hell they think is going on. But I just want to point out that, like, this was such an example of just pure love. Like, two people just truly in love with each other. And if you couldn't see that, like, as that being all that it is, I don't think you've ever felt love in your life. Because no matter who it is or what their gender is, or you can't deny just like seeing their pure love for each other through that. And it was beautiful.
I loved it.
And they got 2 7s and 2 8s. I wish they had gotten higher, but I also understand. But Scott, I love you. Miss Danielle. Oh, I was so worried about her doing a jive, just because I know about her injury, and you know she has been on the lower side of the leaderboard. She impressed me.
I will say it was a little slow, I think, for a jive, but I think she still did a great job.
But I also feel like that's just like the tempo that the song was at. It was dedicated to Bill Daniels, who played Mr. Feeney in Boy Meets World. And her story with him, it was so sweet. I will say, I think she had, as far as tonight, she had a little bit of an advantage in the sense that he wasn't really a part of the dance, which I don't blame them. Like, man clearly can't move. So he was basically a set piece. But she had the advantage of pretty much doing a dance, her and Pasha, like they normally do every other week. While a lot of the other people here had the added challenge of truly incorporating a third person. Carrie Ann made a note about how her dances in general feel repetitive, and they kind of feel like a lot of the same content. And she even pointed out that that's on Pasha a lot. I agree with her. Everybody was booing her in the audience. I'm like, y'all, she's right.
And so hopefully, like, next week she'll fix that, because she'll be here next week, as is everyone else. Like, hopefully, like, I think she'll take the notes and work on it, and we'll see a much better performance. I love good critiques. And she was like, everyone was booing Carrie Ann, and Danielle was like, no, like, I need this. It's like, yeah, boo the judges, but it's like, I want them to get better. If they're respectful comments and critiques and they're helpful, then it helps out the stars.
Pros and the stars also, like, very frequently say that they wish the judges had more time for notes, because they feel like they're barely getting any feedback because the judges have so little time.
If we could just take away one of these freaking commercial breaks, I would really appreciate it.
She got 3 7s and an 8. She got her first 8 though. Closing out the night for the second time this season already was Alex, and she did a contemporary dedicated to her little sister, which again she had a very sweet story about. I also want to give a shout out to Val's choreography on this, because out of everybody, I think Val did such an amazing job of incorporating Isabel into this dance. Because we saw with some of the others where, like, especially with the kids, that they would be in a part and then they would just like leave the stage and then maybe come back at the end. He kept Isabel on the dance floor the whole dance, even though the majority of the content was just between Alex and Val.
And that was really sad. There was like a moment she showed like the family picture or whatever. I'm just like...
She was sitting on the steps with a spotlight on her while Alex and Val were dancing on the floor. I thought it was the perfect way to incorporate her because she was there. She was on the floor. She got to do her dancing. It was easier for her to kind of like move in and out of the dance.
Yeah.
But it still gave Alex and Val plenty of time to dance, just the two of them.
It give Alex a chance to grow in the new style and like show what she can do and whatever, and not just have another added challenge of the trio. Because it's like, again, this is the first time they've done a trio thing with people who are barely there, like not dancers, like children, old people, like whatever. It's such an added challenge for the pros, for the celebs. I mean, they've never done this before. It's like confusing to try to figure that out. Like, we've seen some of the dances barely incorporated them, some really incorporated them, and this was such a well way to do it. I just thought it was really stunning and it was really sweet, and like Alex had such a confidence when she was dancing. This is what I think Kim said, like she had a newfound confidence because she had her little sister there with her by her side, and so she's like the leader now, kind of, and so she has to take this style into her own and lead someone else, kind of. And we've seen this with some of the other stars tonight, like they have to take on like a leader role, whereas before with their pro they are not in, and so it gives them more confidence, and it's like that is really beautiful to see them take that and soar with it and perform, and like again, hopefully everyone takes that confidence that they felt leading the person that they love into the next week.
I think that this was my favorite dance of the night. I had no notes. I thought it was absolutely gorgeous in every way, and she got 3 9s and 1 8. Yeah. I think this was better than Dylan's.
I mean, Carrie Ann's the only one who gave her an 8, and Carrie Ann said something about the way she has weird angles when she turns with her arm. So I'm sure that's probably what bumped her down a little bit, but yeah.
Overall tonight, what I do love is that our leaderboard has changed. Not drastically, you know, generally this is the same. And don't get me wrong, I'm not like happy that people have like gone down, but it just like makes for more, like the show more interesting. I think I had even said last week when I was like, Whitney has been at the top every single week, and to be honest, it's a little boring. Not that I don't love her dances. I do. I love her dances. I think she'll make it to the finale. I'm excited for her to be in the finale. But I'm just saying I want to see more people get up on her level and it be more competitive. And we saw that tonight. I mean, both Robert and Dylan have been a little bit lower, more in that middle ground the last couple weeks. And like tonight, they're right back up at the top, and I love seeing that.
Fun, it's challenging, it pushes everyone. Like if you're, again, like if you're at the top, then it's like you don't have someone pushing you as much to get back, like except for really yourself, or like a strive to stay there. Healthy competition, and it's good for good dances.
Tonight might have been my favorite night, and this is a theme that makes it personal to these stars, which is a lot of what this show is about. It's about like learning who these people are behind just what you know them for as stars, and that's exactly what this kind of theme gets. I'm sorry, but Wicked Night,
it's not gonna do that. It just feels like promo.
And the fact that this theme is like, it's specific to their stories, but also broad enough that like they can do any song, any style. They can like incorporate the theme however they want. Versus Wicked Week is gonna be only songs from one musical.
You know, like this gives them so much creative freedom. We can see what the stars are capable. We see what the pros are capable of choreography wise. Like it's very interesting. It's very transformative for the celebs. Like it's a very personal night and experience. And I think this is why so many of the stars love being on this show and have such an attachment to it years and years and years later. It's because they get this kind of personal transformative experience of expressing themselves through dance, which is typically a new avenue for these people that they didn't even realize they could do. It's really beautiful, and I don't think Wicked Night is going to quite have the same impact. It just feels like promotion.
Anyway.
Next week for Wicked, we did ask the chat who should be Elphaba and who should be Glinda, so we should be dressed up next week.
So we'll see you next week for Wicked Night, and most likely a double elimination. Thanks for listening.